A complex love triangle pits brother against brother. Can it end in anything but tragedy? Find out on this month's installment of Opera Avengers. Thank you for joining us on Opera Avengers. I'm Alejandra Martinez, your guide to demystifying opera, an art form created by the people, for the people, and of the people. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/opera. Choose from over 180,000 titles to read on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Additional support comes from FreshBooks.com. Move your small business's accounting to the cloud with a free 30-day trial on www.gofreshbooks.com/opera. As always, this podcast will include spoilers. In opera, there are so many nuances to absorb that knowing the story beforehand allows you to sit back and enjoy the performance without worrying about missing a subtitle or two. So think of our podcast as your cheat sheet and be free to enjoy every minute of high-flying opera. Pelléas et Mélisande is a French opera composed by Claude Debussy. In fact, Debussy poured so much soul and invention into this production that it was the only opera he would ever fully complete. Act 1 introduces us to Golode, the grandson of King Arkel of Allemonde. Golode is hunting in the forest, but he loses his way. He is drawn by the sound of soft weeping. It belongs to a mysterious, long-haired maiden, trembling next to a spring. A discarded crown floats in the water. Golode strikes up a conversation with her, but the only thing she reveals is her name, Mélisande. He tries to retrieve her crown, but she stops him. It is getting dark, so he asks if she would like to return home with him. She agrees. 6 months pass. In the castle at Allemonde, the elderly King Arkel is bedridden and nearly blind. Queen Genevieve is the mother of the princes, Golode and Pelléas. She reads a letter Golode sent to Pelléas, and I quote, "Hey brother, just letting you know I got married." Her name is Mélisande, but honestly I don't know much else about her. I'm a bit worried at how Dad might take the news. Could you do me a favor? Give me some warning. If he's cool with it, light a lamp from the tower facing the sea. If not, then don't. I'll just keep sailing and never return home. Upon hearing this, Arkel is a bit disappointed. He had planned on Golode marrying a nearby princess in the hopes of ending long-standing national rivalries. But he is okay with Golode's marriage. Then, Pelléas enters in tears. His best friend is on his deathbed. Pelléas begs his father's permission to make the long journey to say goodbye. But the king insists that he, being his father and rather ill himself, takes precedence. Pelléas reluctantly agrees. Genevieve reminds him to light the lamp for his brother. Time passes, and Mélisande and Golode have arrived at the castle. Genevieve takes a walk with Mélisande, getting to know her. Pelléas awkwardly stumbles upon them and meets Mélisande for the first time. Together, they watch a ship leave the harbor. Mélisande worries they'll crash in the heavy fog. Genevieve leaves them to check on Ignod, Golode's son from a previous marriage. Pelléas is left to walk alone with Mélisande. As they come across steep terrain, he offers her a hand, but she is already holding flowers. Instead, he threads his arm through hers. He mentions that he might leave tomorrow. She asks him where, but he doesn't answer. At the start of Act 2, it is a hot summer day. Pelléas gives Mélisande a tour of the castle grounds. They stop at a beautiful well in the park, one of Pelléas's favorite spots, nicknamed the Blind Man's Well, because of the belief that its waters can cure blindness. At least, they used to, before Arkel began losing his own sight. Mélisande leans on the rim, hair draping down, trying to see to the bottom. Pelléas remarks that Golode first met her by a spring. For some reason, seeing her by a fountain reminds him of that. He asks for details about their first meeting and learns that she initially refused Golode's kiss. She plays with Golot's ring, but accidentally drops it down the well as the clock chimes 12. Mélisande panics, wondering what to tell Golot. Pelléas tries to calm her down and recommends she tell Golot the truth. Later in the castle, Golot is injured, recovering in bed with Mélisande at his side. When the clock chimed 12, Golot's horse was startled and threw him. Mélisande suddenly bursts into tears. Upon his urging, she reveals that she doesn't like her new home. Golot wonders if she means Pelléas, who has always been a little strange. Mélisande just feels stifled by the castle, and Golot dismisses her as childish for crying about something so trivial. Then he notices her ring is missing. She blurts that she lost it in a cave by the sea, an obvious lie. Golot orders her to find it before the tide comes in. He doesn't care how dark it is. She needs to find it, and he volunteers Pelléas to escort her. That night, Pelléas leads Mélisande to the cave. Mélisande is afraid to enter, but Pelléas urges her to get a good look inside so she can describe it to Golot and prove she was there. But they find a group of beggars sleeping inside, driven to poverty from famine. Pelléas suggests that they come back another day, and they leave. In Act 3, Mélisande combs her long hair in her tower. Pelléas arrives outside and asks to kiss her hand before he leaves tomorrow. She reaches out the window, but can only bend so far. Instead, she lowers her hair down. But instead of climbing it like in a certain fairy tale, Pelléas playfully ties it to a willow tree. Right on cue, Golot shows up just in time to see his brother fondling his wife's hair. And his reaction? Well, he thinks they're being childish. Golot leads Pelléas down into the castle vaults, through the dungeons, until they arrive at a stagnant pool, which reeks of death and decay. Golot urges Pelléas to look into the chasm, even offering to hold him safely while he leans in. A slip, after all, would be fatal. Pelléas begs to leave. Once outside, Pelléas is relieved to breathe the fresh air again. The clock chimes 12. As they watch Mélisande and Geneviève up in the tower, Golot gives Pelléas a sinister warning. He never wants to catch him and Mélisande playing any childish games again. He reveals that she is pregnant, and the slightest shock could ruin her health. He orders Pelléas to avoid her, without being too obvious. Outside the tower before dawn, Golot asks his son what he thinks of Pelléas and Mélisande. Ignolde reveals that he once saw them kiss in the rain. That's the final straw for Golot. He hoists Ignolde onto his shoulders and forces him to spy on Mélisande. Ignolde reports that Pelléas is indeed in her chamber. But they're not doing anything untoward, just looking at the rising sun. Armed with this new information, Golot finally lets Ignolde down and takes him away. And here we'll take a quick commercial break. Audible.com is offering a free audiobook download, in addition to a free 30-day trial to test out their library of 180,000 books, including The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. To download your free audiobook, go to www.audibletrial.com/opera. Again, that's audibletrial.com/opera for your free audiobook. Additionally, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day free trial to try out their service. FreshBooks provides a new, easier way to send invoices, chart your expenses, and save it all to the cloud. To try FreshBooks free for 30 days, just go to www.gofreshbooks.com/opera.
tu avais de la lumière.
J'ai ouvert la fenêtre, il fait trop chaud dans la cour. Il fait beau cette nuit.
Il y a d'innombrables étoiles. Je n'aurais jamais vu autant que ce soir. Et la lune est encore sur la mer. Reste pas dans l'ombre. Mélisande, oh, je crois un peu que je vois toujours de l'inouï. Penche-toi, laisse-moi venir plus près de toi.
Je ne puis pas venir plus près de toi. Je me penche tant que je peux.
Je ne puis pas monter plus haut. Donne-moi du moins ta main ce soir, avant que je m'en aille. Je pars demain.
Non, non, non.
Si, je pars. Je partirai demain. Donne-moi ta main, ta petite main sur mes lèvres.
Je ne te donne pas ma main si je pars.
Donne.
Je ne partirai pas.
J'attendrai.
Je vois une rose dans les ténèbres.
Non, je ne vois que les branches du soleil qui dépassent la vue.
Plus bas dans les jardins, là-bas dans le berceau.
Ce n'est pas une rose. Je vois tout à l'heure, mais donne-moi ta main d'abord. D'abord ta main.
Voilà. Je ne puis pas pencher davantage.
Mes lèvres ne peuvent pas attendre ta main.
Je ne puis pas pencher davantage. Je suis sur le point de tomber.
Oh, qu'est-ce que c'est? Tes cheveux descendent vers moi. Toute ta chevelure, Mélisande, toute ta chevelure est tombée de la tour. Je les tiens dans les mains, je les tiens dans la bouche. Je les tiens dans les bras, je les baise autour de mon cou. Je n'ouvrirai plus les mains cette nuit.
Laisse-moi, tu vas me faire tomber.
Non, je n'ai jamais vu de cheveux comme les tiens, Mélisande. Ils viennent de Sion, ils m'inondent encore jusqu'au cœur. Ils m'inondent encore jusqu'au cœur. Et ils sont doux comme si comme le ciel. Je ne vois plus le ciel à travers tes cheveux. Tu vois, mes deux mains ne peuvent pas les tenir. Il y aura jusqu'aux les branches du soir. cette nuit. Tu es ma prisonnière cette nuit, toute la nuit, toute la nuit.
Pelléas, Pelléas.
Je l'ai nous, ô blanche du saule. Tu ne t'en iras plus, tu ne t'en iras plus. Regarde, regarde, j'embrasse tes cheveux, je ne souffre plus au milieu de tes cheveux. Tu entends me baiser le long de tes cheveux, oui, le long de tes cheveux. Il faut que chacun collabore. Tu vois, la prise pour les bras. Je n'ai pas et tu ne m'as plus abandonné.
Oh, oh, tu m'as fait mal. Qui a dit, Pelléas? Qu'est-ce qui vous le donne à moi?
Act 4 takes us back inside the castle, where Pelléas tells Mélisande that Arkel's health is improving, and he has finally given Pelléas permission to leave on his travels. Pelléas intends to obey his brother and avoid Mélisande, but he asks her to meet him at the blind man's well before he departs. Later, Mélisande quietly meets with King Arkel. The king reveals that he pitied her when she first arrived, but promises that things will improve soon. Then, Golod storms through the door, blind, drunk, with blood dripping from his forehead. He blames the wound on a thorn henge. Mélisande tries to tend to his injury, but he shoves her aside and draws his sword. Golod mocks her terror and the pure innocence in her eyes. He threatens her and drags her around by the hair before storming out. Mélisande is left alone with Arkel again. Arkel is shocked by his son's treatment of her, and Mélisande believes that Golod no longer loves her. Meanwhile, Ignol chases his lost toy ball to the well and has an odd encounter with an enigmatic shepherd and his flock. Scared, he runs off. Next, Pelléas arrives at the well. He worries about his brother's threat and hopes that his journey will remove the possibility of temptation. But he still hopes to speak to Mélisande this one last time. Mélisande arrives, dazed and distant. She doesn't liven up until Pelléas tells her he must go. She asks why, then reveals she loves him. They then realize that they have been locked outside the castle. They can never return, but both agree it is for the best. They finally give in and kiss each other, just when they notice Golod spying from behind the trees. Golod rushes at them and runs Pelléas through with the sword. Pelléas dies at the side of the fountain. Golod slashes Mélisande with the sword before she flees into the woods in terror. Later, Mélisande is bedridden in her chamber. A doctor treats her wound while Golod and Arkel watch. The doctor claims that her cut is not serious. However, she has just given birth to a baby girl and is now in a half-conscious, delirious state. Golod watches, overcome with guilt. He asks Arkel and the doctor to leave so he can speak to her alone. He tells Mélisande that he blames himself, who else, and begs her forgiveness. He also asks her to admit to her forbidden love for the late Pelléas, but she maintains her innocence. Golod grows more and more desperate, pressuring her to confess. Her answer stays the same. Arkel and the doctor charge in to stop him before he kills her, but Golod claims that he has already killed her. Arkel hands Mélisande her newborn baby, who doesn't cry. She worries that the little girl will have a sad life. Mélisande quietly dies, leaving the child to live in her place. Arkel comforts his sobbing son as the curtain closes. Pelléas and Mélisande is a tragedy that has resonated with audiences throughout the century since its premiere. Claude Debussy always wanted to do theater and had many false starts before attempting this, a new kind of opera, with fewer set pieces, arias, or solos. The process was actually quite painful, and he is quoted as saying, "My life is hardship and misery thanks to this opera. Everything about it is wrong for me." He would never compose another, but Pelléas et Mélisande remains a landmark piece of music with an innovative libretto. It will continue to live on. Until next month, I'm Alejandra Martinez. Thank you for listening. Opera Avengers is a production of the Great Lakes Light Opera, an organization based out of Cleveland, Ohio, dedicated to bringing opera and all local musical arts to everyone. Want to learn more? Visit us at greatlakeslightopera.com. Want to help out? Check our donation page or email us at megan@greatlakeslightopera.com. Oh, and let us know what you'd like to hear next.